I get it. You feel like you're always behind something, behind someone. Maybe it's you feel like you're behind yourself, your own expectations, your own dreams, your own desires. And I find that to be true a lot of the time. It's often not a person that you chase, in the grand scheme of life at least. It's often not one shiny object that you chase. I think it's often lifestyles that people chase, or a dream of living some way that you expect to be better than the state you currently reside in. And I think there's a fallacy in that. I think there's a flaw in that way of thinking. And so if you think of life as a go-kart, if you think of two go-karts along a track, there's one which is speeding ahead, which is already in front, and the other one is you, and it's following close behind. If you're always chasing, if you're always following that go-kart along, you'll go somewhere. And so that's what people say. They say to chase your dreams. They say to keep striving for excellence, or whatever your idea of excellence might be. And I don't refute it. I think it's a great way to live, and I think it's a great way to set goals for yourself to achieve the things that you want to achieve. But there's shortcomings to this method of thinking, I believe. And so when you think about falling behind, can you even define what it means to fall behind? I think about where I'm meant to be at this stage of my life. And I feel like everyone has a misconstrued vision of where they're meant to be for their particular age, for their particular demographic. And so for me, it might be, I'm supposed to start a multi-million-dollar charity by now. Yeah. I'm supposed to cure cancer by this age. Or, I don't know, I'm supposed to have a full-time employment job by this time. And people seem to have really defined and set markers for where they want to be in life. And those markers tend to be really airy-fairy. They tend to be, in 5 years, I want to have a stable job. In 10 years, I want to have a wife and children. It's like these goalposts that you just stick out in the wild. These random go-karts that are off in the distance that you can barely make out with your eye. But you still chase them nonetheless because, I don't know, they're bright red and flashy. And that's the thing. I think when you have too many go-karts running around, when you have too many distractions that are flying around in front of you, and you have too many things that you're chasing, you're inevitably always going to feel like you're behind. And it's not because you're actually behind, so to say. It's not because you're actually a failure. It's not because you're actually, a lesser person than you have the potential to be. But it's because you are lesser than the idea that you compare yourself to, the lifestyle that you compare yourself to, the way of living, the mentality, the accolades of somebody that you idolize, whether it's someone who's a celebrity, whether it's someone who's really close to you, who's a family friend, or maybe it's a version of yourself that you idolize 5 years into the future. Or as Matthew McConaughey said, he wants to be the person, the idol he has is the person, I can't speak. His idol is himself in 10 years. And I think it's great to have something like that to chase, to always look to something and keep striving for excellence. But I think that having a really narrow view of that can often make you sometimes feel like you're behind. And I know I've personally felt that before. When you surround yourself with people who are amazing at things, when you surround yourself with people who are better than things than the average person, you'll feel like much more average than you actually are. You'll feel much lesser than other people might perceive you to be. And that brings me to my point about self-perception in the nature of falling behind. Because you're not falling short of this ideals that society has laid out for you. You're not falling short of these biomarkers that scientists put out. At 25, I have to have a business. At 35, I have to have a loving family. You're not falling short of any markers of any metric because there simply are none. You're falling short of the fantasy that you construct for yourself. You're falling short of the person that you would like to be. And so I think instead of trying to tackle that problem head on, instead of trying to go for, I want to get ahead. Because I always hear people say that I want to get ahead of this, I want to get ahead of that, I want to get that extra edge, I want to do this one thing that will magically solve all my problems, I want to do this thing that will take me to the next level, that will make me better than the person next to me. And there's many things you can do to do that. But my big question is to you, once you achieve that milestone, once you achieve that goal, are you really still going to feel like you're ahead? Or are you going to just feel like you're behind something else now? And I can tell you personally that that's exactly what I felt. I don't know, for me at least, last year, UCAT was, and if you don't know what UCAT is, that's like a medicine entry sort of examination thing. And I had always propped that up to be one of the biggest things that I had to go through. It has always been on a pedestal for me. So I'd thought of it as some massive thing. And I'd always felt behind and unprepared for it. And when I actually sat that thing, once I finished it, I walked out. And I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't necessarily unsatisfied because my results weren't there. I wasn't necessarily unsatisfied because I hadn't achieved a grade. The grade didn't even matter to me once I'd stepped outside. What I felt was incompletion. And it was the fact that I had built everything up to that point. I had put so much weight behind it that once I actually got there, once I actually overcame the thing that I had been thinking about for months, it felt so anticlimactic. And that really opened up my perspective because it was like most of it was my head. And so I realized that once I overcame that, I still felt behind. And the thing that I felt behind for was now my high school work. And so I thought that by grinding out UCAT at least, I would come out on the other side and I would feel ahead of the other people that were around me. But in reality, when I came out of that experience, all I did was feel as if I was behind on something else whilst achieving something that hardly mattered to me anymore. And sure enough, once I finished high school, once I got my ATAR, which in Australia is the way that they used to rank students, and it's sort of like your GPA, that type of thing. But once I actually achieved that as well, once I got that number, it meant nothing to me. It meant absolutely nothing to me. And once again, I felt behind. I felt so behind. I thought about, I don't even know how to do my taxes at this point. I'm still living with my parents. I haven't even gone to university yet. I felt so behind. And so I don't think that will ever change. I think that once I get a job, I think that once And when I say get a job, I mean once I get like a full medical job, not like, working at Macca's or something like that. I think once I achieve the vision that I foresee for myself in 5 years, in 7 years, in 10 years, I don't think it will be enough. I don't think it ever will be enough. And I think the reason for that stems so much deeper than I'm not ahead, because I will be ahead. In fact, I think and I believe in myself, and you should believe in yourself too, that within a certain period of time, you're going to be ahead of a certain demographic of people. You're going to be at least within the top 80% of the population in any metric, whether that's how high you can jump, to how much income you earn, to I don't know how many times a day that you can burp. You're going to be ahead of people in every aspect of life. There's so many things you're going to be good at. There's also so many things that you're going to be bad at, you're behind at. And so I think sometimes the best way to go about things is not necessarily how am I going to get myself ahead, but how am I going to cope with the fact that I'll always be behind. And I think that best personifies itself in the kid wonders of the world. You've got these 16-year-olds who are starting charities. You've got, 15-year-olds starting multi-million-dollar businesses. You've got, what was it, like Billie Eilish popped off when she was 15 or something like that? I can't remember. But you've got people out there at extremely young ages or extremely old ages doing incredible things that you could not imagine yourself ever accomplishing. And it's almost unrealistic to compare yourself to them because you feel as if you're so behind that they're not even on the same plane of existence that you are. And so let's look at something more relatable then. Let's look at someone who's close to you, maybe a family friend, maybe a relative, maybe like a sibling who's better than you at many things. You feel behind them as well. I know you do. I do. It's okay. I mean, what's that saying? There's always an Asian better than you at something. Well, there's Asians out there who are better at being Asian than I am. So, there's levels to everything. And I feel like at a point when we start comparing ourselves to these unrealistic expectations so much, when we start combating the idea that we have for ourselves with the idea that we have of other people, I think it starts to become a problem because we have such a misconstrued understanding of what other people are like. And I think about, social media, for example, where you have pretty much a highlight reel of everyone who's on there. And so you have people, for example, in the fitness industry who they'll have a bulking season where they get really big and fit, and then they'll cut, and then for about a week or a month, they will take like 1 million photos. And what they'll do is they'll slowly drip feed those photos from that 1 week of photo shooting, and they'll drip them out throughout a whole year to make you think that they were in that physical condition for 365 days as opposed to 7. And I find that really hilarious because that's the people that we're comparing ourselves to. So whether it's going to be academics, whether it's going to be life, whether it's going to be fitness, we compare ourselves to the best image that people put out there of themselves on the internet. Like no right-minded person, unless they're trying to build relatability, is going to go out there and put something that's lesser than what they think of themselves, what they think that, or at least the best version of themselves. And so when you think of yourself as an average person, when you think of yourself doing average things, how is it fair to compare yourself to what other people think is the best version of themselves? It's not fair. It's simply not a fair battle. And it honestly never wasn't even a battle in the first place. So why are you comparing? That's my question. But I think I'm at the stage now where I'm thinking about those go-karts. I'm thinking about that one go-kart that I keep chasing. And I don't think I'll ever reach it. I don't think I'll ever catch up with it. And I'd like to think of myself as a person who sets pretty high expectations for myself, who likes to, be pretty harsh on myself when I don't do things the way that I want to do them, or I'm not the person that I foresee myself being, or, when I don't match up to the expectations that I set in place for myself. I see myself being pretty harsh on that. But what I've come to understand a little bit more is that sometimes you'll never reach those expectations. And there are things that are simply impossible to attain because you can't have everything. And so you'll set goals for yourself. You'll have a checklist of things that you want to achieve by a certain time frame. And maybe that's, 5 things. You want a private jet. You want a Rolex watch. You want a Ferrari. Maybe you get all 3 things. Maybe you get 2. Maybe you get 1. Maybe you get 0. But at the end of the day, you'll be chasing the go-kart either way. Because even if you buy that Ferrari, you buy the jet, and you buy the Rolex, the next thing you're looking for is a mega yacht. That's the next thing you're looking for. And you'll be chasing that yacht for the next however many years, for the next however many decades. And once you get that yacht, well, you'll be looking for, a bloody island to buy. So, I guess the message that I want to leave you with is that everyone feels as if they are behind. Everyone. I feel as if I'm behind. All the time. And I think it's okay to be behind. It's okay to feel as if you're not quite where you want to be. Because that's the only way that you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to drag yourself to the place that you want to be. But I think you have to develop a more healthy relationship with yourself. And so a lot of people talk about healthy comparison in regards to yourself and other people. I like to think about healthy comparison in regards to the person that I currently am and the person that I want to be. And so setting expectations for myself, but not setting them too high to the point where they're low-key a little bit unattainable. And I think a good way to keep me grounded, at least, was to talk to people who are in similar positions like me, to find people to mentor me, to find people to speak to and to relate to. And I guess that's one of my main missions that I'm trying to do here on this channel. And I'm trying to build a little bit of a community here. A group of people that make you feel supported. A group of people that make you feel like you're not really behind, but you're working towards something alongside other people. And that if you're behind, other people are behind you. You're backing other people. Now, that was like a double entendre there. But that's the vibe that I want to create. And I really want to go into sort of deeper mentoring beyond this channel as well. I've been thinking about really locking in on the academic side of things and how to really bring out the best in yourself at that. Because I think that there's a lot of tactile things that you can do. There's a lot of time management. There is a lot of, learning skills that you have to be well versed in that people don't normally teach. But I think beyond that, there's also a mental aspect to it. There is a philosophical way of thinking, a way of composing yourself that people don't normally talk about. And I think that you can honestly achieve your goals with so much less stress, so much less burden, so much less mental toll if you if you approach things from a different perspective. And I hope to mold that perspective a little bit into you as you watch more of these videos. I hope that you get to see a bit more of the person that I am, and hopefully that you might find some inspiration and take some elements from that and integrate that into the person that you want to become as well. I think that would be the greatest honor that I could have. But yeah, it's getting a bit late for me. It's about 1 a.m. here in China. I'm currently on holiday visiting family. And I'm starting to ramble a little bit. But all I wanted to say is, if you're watching this, thank you. If you stuck to the end, you have a lot of patience and a good attention span. I know mine has personally corrupted a little bit by Reels and TikTok, but here we are. So thank you, and I'll be seeing you soon. Make sure to subscribe down below and join this little community.